here if you put the pivot here. And if you're talking about from the elbow to the pivot, you look at the pivot here. What about this part? So the pivot acts as this here. I'll explain it to give you the whole picture of why it is like this. So once you decide this is the pivot, the elbow aims at or pushes towards the pivot. It means the elbow is taking possession from the elbow all the way to the pivot to this here. This becomes yin or yang. This becomes the other. So now you are distinguishing two ends. So this here to the pivot, this becomes one chunk. The other is another chunk. So you have two chunks. Before that, your whole forearm is one chunk. And physically, if you put something there, then it is a demarcation. It becomes two chunks. Without that physical thing, you aim your elbow towards a dot. And that's the model. So far, I did not add anything. I did not take anything away. This is exactly what happens. So now you imagine, if I put the apple here, it's fairly easy to cut. If I put the apple here, it's very, very difficult to cut because you need a pivot. So in this case, James, if you're talking about using a knife and cut an apple here, then you have to generate a pivot somewhere here, and the pivot has to be on top. So that now there is a pivot, you actually cut like this. When you pull this up, this will cut. Remember, we're not using this hacking action, we're using a lever action.